evening, morning, day, or whatever time it is that you're actually watching this video slash stream. And I want to welcome all of you to today's episode of Building Lego Sets. So, for today's episode, I have prepared another Speed Champion series car with the number 76906, and it is the 1970 Ferrari 512M. Alright, let's get into building. So I've already opened the package to make this a little bit easier, and now let's just empty everything onto the table. As you can see, this is the rest of the box. So, and let's park it out. We have two building steps, both the first and the second, as well as a sticker sheet for the different decals of this car. As you can see, most of them are actually decals for the race car. Because this is a race car, there are the numbers on it, which it was wearing during the race, and also a couple of more little things like air ducts and the speedometer that need to be placed with the with stickers. Sorry. All right. So let's get going. Also, we are getting an instruction manual which is printed. It is a little bit small in size for me, which is why I'm always using the electronic one online. But it is much more visible than, for example, the instruction manual for the Architecture New York series. So, alright, let's put this to the side and let's get started with step number 1. As always, first we have our little mini figurine included, which is wearing the matching colors for the company which the car is from, whom the car is made from. So in this case, the little mini figurine is rocking the Ferrari logo. I hope that you can see it. A tiny bit. So it's a very, very tiny logo, but at least they have included this print here. Also, for this particular minifigure, there is a printed bottom piece which is running through the outsides of the little figure's legs to give it this sort of red lining to it, or seam lining on the outside of it. Alright, so we are getting only a one-sided print on the headpiece, which is this rather confident look that the driver apparently has, as well as both the regular hair piece, as well as another head accessory, which is this helmet that they deliver you with these sets. Let's just get the visor on straight, and this is how they look. Maybe I'll straighten it out a bit. Well, just a second. I guess this should be pretty straight. And you also get another hair piece, which you can swap out with the helmet if you like. Alright. So now, let's get started with the actual build. So we have these axle pieces like we always do. But what is not included in this car is a regular Speed Champion Series chassis. This is the smaller version of it, which has only a width of 4 studs, whereas cars like the Toyota Supra that we have built in one of the last streams is consisting of a 6 stud wide bottom plate. Alright, so let's get into actually building the car. I'm just gonna empty the last little bag. And that's it. All right. So now let's just start with putting the Technic pins in, which are always used to in the end mount the wheels. And also let's put on the first couple of parts. So in step number 4, we are having a step where we have to repeat a part, which is this sideway mounting point for probably some sort of side skirt, something like that. This car has a rather intricate form to it, so I'm very much excited for seeing how they actually are building this in terms of technique being used. It's one of the most awesome things about this series of Lego sets is the fact that they always, or nearly always, implement some rather unique building technique which you do not see on many other Lego sets. So the parts that we just produced are looking like this. They have a stud connection on the outside now too, and they are getting put into onto the main build by attaching it to this 2x4 plate. Now let's give it a little bit more structure with the red angular plates. Let me show you the placement of the last one. So as you can see, we have placed some up here, and then on both sides of these, this goes as well, just to give it more structure. All right, let's continue on. We are actually having plates with only a 5 length. 2 of these getting stacked onto each other, and then being put upon our build here on the front side where we actually left off. Looking like this for the first side, and the second one is being built in the same way. Alright, moving on to the next part of the build. I will set this one aside for now, and actually now we are building the second part of axles, I guess. And a lot of other structural and mounting point related things. And it's looking like this at the moment. So as you can see, we have mounted um, uh, a pole onto these little hooks that we implemented in earlier, and we put in a little bit of a connection up top to actually make it more rigid. On this pole that we just placed up here, there will be this plate will hook to the bottom of this and will give it an angle when we put up the 1x3 jumper plates. Let's see how that looks. So as you can see, this is the bottom side of it, which has these little hooks to them. And here on the bottom side we have also placed this, and now if we just align it and snap it together, it will be able to be put into the right angle. Alright. And now all of it is getting connected. So this is how the build looks at the moment. And finally, the middle part is being placed. It will give it a lot of structure to place this main part of these sort of car builds, which are a little bit slimmer. Like these are the older ones, if I'm not mistaken, when all of the Speed Champion Series cars were, I think, only 6 dots wide, but I'm not completely sure if they called the series the same back then. And we are putting two 2x1 plates up on the top, which now will be the place where this 1x6 plate will be sitting, and actually will give everything a lot of rigidity together with this angled front plates, angled plates on the front that we place it. Or actually, it might as well be the back side of it. Usually the build consists of the back side first and then the front side, but we will see where it will actually bring us. So the interior is getting lined out a little bit, and also there's more stud connections on both sides now. And now everything is getting a lot more rigid. Placing some angled connectors up here, or like I suppose, yeah, that's the angled grill pieces, I suppose. I had to think about what is actually the name of these parts. I'm not sure if I even called it the right way. Alright, so on the top side there are more of these connector hooks. And they are being placed up here. And will be the place where the next couple of parts probably will snap in. So the next step is consisting of actually putting up the speedometer, which is sadly a sticker, and we're putting it onto a black cheese slope. This is how it is looking. To be honest, I messed up the position a little bit, but also I think putting stickers on cheese plates is quite hard to do actually, because they are rather tiny. And now we can make out the direction that we are building from. So this is the front side, while this is the back side of this vehicle. And also we are going to tile off some of the area that is involved here. Alright, so now we are placing two 1x1 tiles and a red jumper plate in the back of the driver's position, I guess. So I should probably straighten this out a little bit. And then let's continue on with giving the backside more rigidity. By the way, I welcome every viewer to the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Alright, making a little bit of progress up here. We put on a little bit more rigidity basically. And now we are adding onto it with these sort of connector bricks with rounded corners. Next up, there is even more connection pieces so nothing can break off of the build. Making sure everything is firmly secured. And then the next building step already is involving the exhaust tips. The exhaust tips are done in this chrome colored um, sort of coating, I would say, and they are these regular pieces with the connector up top, and on the other side, as you've seen, there is a bigger hole. Alright, so we have placed both of the exhaust tips, and now we are moving on to building more of the backside of the car. Turning it around, now that we've done that, there are some one by one tiles that need to be placed up front of these connector bricks. Oops. And then also there is one jumper blade being put up in the back. Let me show you how it's looking by now. I'm making some progress. Alright, next step already is the seat, or the backside of the driver's seat to be more specific. That's super. Like a pretty cool implementation with the sloped angle piece to actually make sure that this fits properly. That's rather cool. That's appreciable because sometimes they don't even care for that. Yeah, wonderful. So now we are putting more decoration on top of the build up here, making it look a little bit slimmer too. Whoops, I'm terribly sorry. Alright, and then we just need to continue with step 31. Alright, we've built this little step, which we need to do twice. It is this sort of, how is this part actually called? I'm not even sure. It has this little hinge piece, so it's probably a sort of a hinge piece, I would say. Alright, and this is, like I mentioned before, done twice, exactly in the same way. And then they are just put together. We are having this built out so far. Looks really cool. Alright, let's place it in the back. I guess this is supposed to be the engine. It would fit quite well. Now there is a 1x1 plate actually coming to the front here to give it more of a rounded off look. And then there are a little more to add, or there is a little bit more to add before the first building step is over. So what we're actually missing is this sort of part fabrication. I'm not exactly sure what this is supposed to be. But, whoops, nearly dropped it. But I guess we will definitely see it when we finish our build. Alright, so now that we've done this step twice, let's continue onwards. I'm gonna show it to you in the camera how we are looking like at the moment. The whole backside is done like this. And up top we already started with the interior. Now we are adding more jumper plates to the back, both 2x1s and 3x1s. Alright. So after putting on some jumper plates in the back, it's time to actually mount the lights. And now we also know what these 4 connector bricks actually are for. They are for simulating the lights with being able to be mounted onto them. I just need to make sure I catch the right of the dots for this. Alright, and then the indicator light is on the outside, while the brake light is on the inside here. Good. Now that we have completed this step, it wants us to build another sub-step to our main build. Alright, we have another 5x1 plate, which is still a rather rare piece in LEGO standards. And then we also have a couple of 4x4 plates. Can be rather useful too. Alright, let me show you what we've built. We've put some tiles up on these plates, and we actually added some of these hook pieces. Now we will add some more slopes in form of G-slopes, and then it can already be attached to the main build, which has a stud piece connector here and a lot of other studs here on the back side that we've placed there, and all of these should hook perfectly into the build we've done beforehand. That's actually really cool, I think, like how well this all fits together. But I'm only speaking about this set. There's a couple of ones where it's a little bit more problematic. Alright, so we are putting in more plates or like tiles up top. And then there's a couple more pieces to put together here. One red jumper plate, which gets connected to a regular sloped piece, and another sloped piece. All of it together is looking like this. And now, we are placing it onto first another, how's it called, another jumper plate, before it actually needs to be, well, I guess, modified by putting a sticker on. Alright, so this is how the sticker looks like up top of it. And it's being put here. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me try that again. Here we go. For the air intake, I suppose. Alright. Up top there are two wing pieces, which are being put there for decorative purposes. And they are giving it a very nicely angled off sort of view to the front. As you can see, the front is getting smaller and smaller because these angled pieces are sitting there with a tilt to it. Alright, now before we continue with our next step, the instruction manual tells us to put on a lot of stickers that need to go onto the back side. So let's just do that really quickly, and let's see, that was even an okay quality one. And not only are we putting the number up there, but we also are putting up these little sort of design arrows to make it look a little bit nicer. Alright, let's see if we can actually manage to put this on properly. I think I've already screwed it up a little bit. Let's see if we can actually manage to save that. Alright, so this one was being put on first, and then let's switch out these cheese plates to actually match this better. Well, let's see what the other side brings. Maybe I can put it in a little bit better than what we are having at the moment. Let's see, could we ever use this one up here? No. So we basically have to accept that if we want to make it aligned properly, I guess I'm going to put the other side on a little wrong too, so that it actually is symmetrical at least. I know that sounds kind of like a horrible idea, but at the same time, I appreciate it being symmetrical more than it being looking a little bit more weird from the top side. At least the arrow shape is being still implemented into it. If this would be printed parts, that would have been not an issue at all. But as we know, does not really like printing pieces that much. So that's something that we have to get used to, apparently. Let's put this on here. Maybe you can see it while we do not need it. And we are continuing onwards to the next building step, which is already also the last building step of this little episode of building Lego sets. It will consist of a lot of the bodywork for our little car, as well as the wheels, and probably a lot more stickers. But what I've already seen, where this is actually a much better version of doing it, I will show you a very little piece that is being included in here. And this is this. I don't know if you can actually tell. Not really. Let me show you in this camera. Maybe it is a little bit more visible. It's an actual Ferrari logo, which they usually do not include. Usually, all of these logos are actually just stickers that are just being put on there. Sometimes even with lots and lots of trans clear space. As for example, we had with the Toyota Supra model, where all of this area up here as just a bunch of trans clear sticker which is sticking over. This is being negated here, which is actually a super awesome thing in my opinion, that they at least included that. Alright. Let me just search out the second one because it's a one by one piece, so they usually include two of them. And now we are continuing with the side skirts of our little build. Okay, so I've done the first of these sides. That's just consisting of a black iron bar, two connector pieces with a 1x1 footprint, as well as a slope, an angle slope piece, and a 1x1 plate. All of these are getting put onto this side of the build where we put on the connector points a little bit earlier in the first building step. As you can see, it hooks in rather well and it looks pretty good in terms of the shape that it starts to create. It's probably going back into this sort of way. I'm curious to see how they're actually gonna solve it. So this will be the actual place where we will have the wheels spinning. So it will be. Let's see how much of a space it will actually be. I can just show you this really quickly. So if we mount the wheels, it would actually look like this. And as you can see, that's where we are building more of the coverage now. Alright, so there's some tiles being placed and some angled slope pieces, all of them up here. And then there is a pretty interesting way that they're actually doing the next step, which is this connector part with the hook on it, where we are putting how is it called, a 1x2 tile, and then on the other side there is this little sloped 2x1 connector brick. This is something I've not seen too many times, especially not in red, and it is being used on the bottom side of this connector and actually gets aligned like this. And then there is another 1x1 plate being put on the other side to give it a little bit of structure, I guess. And then because we have placed these little hooks up top here, I hope that you can see these. This part here should just hook into them without a problem. And as you heard, it's already implemented here. And if I may say so, I kind of like the shape it's starting to take. Alright. So next up, I think it will be more of the bodywork being done. Let's look up what we need here. So it begins with some sloped pieces and some angled sloped pieces, as well as one of these tiles in 1x6 red. And it's creating kind of an angled look. And underneath there is this 1x5 plate also in red. All of this construction is going up top of this to give it a little bit of detail up here from the way that what's this called? I guess it's the air vent for cooling the brake calipers, but I'm not completely sure about that. It definitely looks pretty cool with the different angles that it takes and with the 3D effect from these going into here. Well, so far it's actually a very cool build. I like it. Now let's set this aside a bit to start building this little side step. So on here, we actually have to place one of the stickers. To be honest, I have never placed a sticker on a hinge piece before, especially not after getting told so by the instruction manual. That's something new for me, but I understand why here it is a sticker. I've never seen a two molded or printed version of this piece either. So it might as well be a sticker for now, I guess, because making this into a dual mold could be kind of hard because of the little hook that it needs up front. It is a little bit more filigrane, or like a little bit more prone to being damaged, probably, if this is being a double molded version, for example. And I guess it's too small to print for some reason. Oh, well, or it was too expensive, I guess. There is a multitude of reasons, usually, why they do not include things like this. Most of them usually are not good reasons, though. Just to mention that as well. I'm terribly sorry for touching the microphone. And now let's just put on the side skirt that we just built onto the main part of the car, which here has two connector pieces where it will be hooked into. All right, it's looking like this, taking a little bit more shape. And then afterwards, there is a cheese slope which kind of gives it a more angled look even now. So far so good. More winged pieces. The winged pieces are used for creating more of a 3D shape in our build. So it's these pieces, a wing plate and a wing brick, or a 1 by 3, I guess, or a 2 by 3, and they are being placed against the direction that these sort of fenders are taking to actually give it more interesting curvatures and shapes. Alright, so now we are placing the Ferrari logo up here in a way that up here in a way that it apparently cannot be seen, because they just basically put the Ferrari logo brick here for apparently more than just the logo pieces. Yeah, for each of the 1 by 1 tiled, oh no, brick plates. For each of the 1 by 1 plates, they actually have put this little logo piece in that I have discussed a little bit more early with you. So that's an interesting quirk to see. So apparently it was more expensive to sort two different categories of parts, which one would be the non-printed 1 by 1 plate and the other being the printed 1 by 1 plate. So instead of doing that, they literally went ahead and included around, I would have to count them out, but there is a couple of these. Let me check if all of these. Yeah, all of these are actually printed Ferrari logos for some weird reason. So for all the ones where you do not get a print with the logo included in other sets of the Speed Champions lineup, apparently with this set you're getting all of them. That's an interesting quirk, huh? I would have not expected that, actually. I have not looked it up before. I suppose it's just cheaper to print all of them instead of include different sorts. But now you ask, if it's cheaper to actually just print all of these with it and then include it instead of just repacking it with two different sorts of bricks, then or plates in this case. So at which point does the printing process become more expensive then, where it cannot be included anymore for other things? I guess they just had to produce a lot of it, and because they had to produce quite a lot of it, they they just put these in here because they knew somehow they would not use them for any other purpose, I suppose. Like, I kind of cannot wrap my head around the fact that they actually have done this to all the 1 by 1 plates in this build. This is kind of hilarious because I've not seen this in other Lego sets. Also, we are placing the logo on the left side of the car. I especially like the little curvature on the bottom side going upwards. This gives all of it quite a little bit of a better um, a better look overall. What I do not like so much is how I placed the upper part of this number 4 here, because I have quite of a gap in it. I guess I could have negated that a little bit better if I would have actually um, put on the upper part last, I guess, but it's also really hard sometimes to actually put these in the right way. As you maybe know by now, I'm not the biggest fan of stickers anyway. Alright. So we also have this little air vent here, which also is a sticker sadly. And afterwards, let's show you this side, because now we are going to continue with the other one doing basically the same build. Terribly sorry, I'm just very thirsty. Alright. On this side as well. Well, I nearly would have put it up wrong already. Whoops. I don't think I've seen this iron bar part in the color black that often, so I think it's awesome they included it in here. Alright, so we are beginning with the other side, building up a little bit of the side skirt first, and these air vents up top. I think the design of these vents up top that we are layering here now with these bricks is actually pretty intricate when you look at the finished result of it. We're making great progress. Now it is the hook part again that consists of this little pole and hook mechanic that I showed you a little bit earlier, and which has this very cool sloped brick, which I do not know from many sets, especially not in color red. Alright. And also on this side is getting hooked in here via the pole in the back of it. Alright, so now the next step is actually putting up the top side with all the little tiling and the different sorts of angles that it creates with slope pieces. I actually really appreciate how that looks like. I very much like the sort of build style, with lots of tiles up top to make it more rounded off. And as you can see, this is getting covered now by the top side part. Alright, it's looking like this from the top side, and from the side we are at this point right now. Alright, so the next step actually consists of the hinge piece again, which we need to put a sticker upon. First we need to find the hinge piece though. Alright, and now let's put sticker number 14 up here. Oh, I did that pretty crooked. Oops. You can even see it on camera. It's like so crooked. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Alright. Next up, we are building more of the side skirt with the light bluish gray panel, which I very much think looks great when it is put upon the car, because it creates this lovely gray barrier with the red. I think that looks rather unique. Alright, also our hinge piece is getting the top side to it. So we have a stud connector here too. Alright, so now it's time to put this up here again. So it's getting put up on this connector, and it's just getting pressed down, and already it is in shape. Cool. So now there's again this G-slope on the other side, and we're getting a rather sharp angular design, which I think looks really cool. Alright, so we are putting in more of these winged pieces slash bricks. And it's being put to the other side. And then we have the usage of one of these Ferrari logo 1x1 plates again. This time it is mirrored to the other side. Alright, so once we have done that, in just a second, we can assemble it upon here, which has two different rows of studs, and it's sliding in, and you can just press it down. So now the front angle also is being put in on the other side. Alright, followed up by putting a 2x4 tile in red on here, and also in the next step I think we are putting on more stickers. Yes, so these are already some of the last couple of stickers that are actually in this set, which makes this actually one of the Speed Champion series cars with the smallest amount of stickers, if you believe me or not, even though this actually is a race car. This has probably the same amount of stickers, if not less, than, for example, the Toyota Supra, which, as you can see, is just a regular yellow street car. That's not a complaint for the Ferrari, by the way. That's rather a complaint for the Supra having so many stickers instead of any prints in it. Whereas in the Ferrari model, there actually were some prints that I've not seen in any of the other manufacturers' cars. But also Ferrari is rather strict with their licensing agreements, so I very much understand why they had to step up their game a little bit for this company. And it's hilarious to see that for other ones they did not care enough, I guess. Alright, and also, besides the decal with the number 4 on the side, we are also putting in the air vent here on the bottom. Also, if you can tell, the whole front side of this piece is now being covered by this sticker, which is trying to imitate light bluish gray. On camera, you cannot really tell, sadly. I can tell you in real life, it is definitely not the same color. So, well, they have not really done a great job with matching this sticker, and it's only been one of a couple too. So it might as well could have been a trans clear one at that point, because the light bluish gray, or like any color that they ever try, it does not really work anyway, because it's always either too dark, too bright, or it's just so shimmery in general that you can just clearly tell it's not the same color. So we are putting in more connectors up here with these angled plates. And then actually, for the first time in this build, even though we already have put it in quite a couple of times, there is the 1x1 Ferrari sticker plate, or like Ferrari logo plate, sorry, not sticker, printed element here on the side. Maybe it was just too little for them to actually make a sticker out of it. Maybe that's the only reason why this is included, is because it's just too little to actually make a sticker. But then you can print it for some reason. Well, I guess at least it does not take up a lot of printer ink or whatever is used for actually printing these pieces. Usually, I guess it's a print sort of thing. If it's the same as it is, for example, with Kobe, which is a Polish manufacturer of building blocks, similar to this hobby, but definitely not the same manufacturer. I'm just always mentioning this very carefully because Lego takes a lot of care to make sure they are distancing their product from the rest of the market. So yes, that's also something being pursued legally lots of times if you have not heard about it yet. So I'm rather careful in this aspect. All right, we have the front air ducts being put in with these angled grill pieces again, this time angled to the front. And I guess this is supposed to be, I'm not actually sure. I guess this is just to mount the window properly, which by the way is a print too, which is really cool. It even has this little sideway sort of latch thing where you can open the windshield to, I guess, let in more air or actually talk with the driver when you are doing a pit stop maneuver. All right, and the front of um, these fenders is getting tiled off, and then there's sloped pieces too. All right. Let's look for the second sloped piece. Already found it. And now we have put up both of these fenders. I think they look rather cool. I hope it is visible properly. Alright, and now I'm going to continue with the other stuff that is left off, which is especially the front side bumper, I guess, and the hood, which not really would be the hood because the engine is in the back, I suppose. So would it be the trunk cover then? I guess. Is it called the trunk in cars with the with a rear engine? I don't know. I suppose. Anyway, there is this pole that I've discussed for before when we've put it in, and this is how this part looks like. There is a hook to this side. There is this little sloped piece which is sloped to both sides, and this tooth piece looks like a dragon tooth in white. Let's connect all of this because this is actually being built twice. It is just mirrored to each side to actually fit the style that it goes for. Or the mounting points to be more precise, I guess. Alright. So there is the hook here, and it's just snapping onto this. And then I'm just gonna put it in similar to what they have on here. Alright, so I'm seeing we are building another side piece, so I might as well put this away for now. And we can see another printed piece. I'm actually very surprised that they printed this piece in this set. It's a trans clear 1x2 tile, which is actually printed red on the top. Not that it is matching color red to any of these, because I mean, you can just hold these next to each other. I think even with the bad lighting that I'm using right now, you can clearly tell the difference in the color. By the way, I have not compared the different parts of color yet too, but um, when looking at it in proper light, it definitely has like at least three different shapes of red too. So the plastic is not coherent either. Don't even think about that. So, um, why did they print this piece? I don't really know because this could have actually been implemented with a sticker, which could have saved money, I suppose. But yeah, because it is actually Ferrari, they cared enough to not do that. What they also cared for is to put in another one of these logo pieces, which is actually angled inwards again, just not to see the logo at all. Makes perfect sense to include around 8 to 10 of them, though. Definitely. But it's a great thing if you want to build a lot of Ferrari mods and need like a lot of these little logos. Or you're building a dealership mock or something like that. I don't really know where you would even need all of these. I guess when once this set becomes um, sold out and the end of lifetime circle kicks in, maybe on Bricklink the prices for these parts will rise a little, but also this is a very generally produced set being sold in basically every retail store. So there is a huge ton of these sets out on the market right now. But I am not 100% safe in my knowledge about the resale on these sort of sets in particular because sometimes they get ruled out quite fast in terms of the product life cycle. So there is always a possibility. I'm just mentioning that very vaguely, more as a general sort of information. While we have actually constructed this thing here, which is being used as the actual headlight of our car. So we can mount it up here, and because it is angled, we can just put it into this direction, and now it's creating a wonderful squared off look, which is actually pretty hard to achieve with Lego bricks. And also you can clearly see the color difference, even on camera, I think, at this point. I'm gonna put it back here so that you actually have the view of the model while I put together the second side of it. All right. Step 86 is done. So let's continue onwards. Oh, whoops, I nearly placed the logo visibly. Sorry, I don't know why I'm cracking up so much about that, but it's just so weird to see like how they put in pieces being printed and then they don't even use them. Where in other sets you're craving for any of these pieces being printed, where they just don't do any of it. Even with the bigger Technic Ferrari sets, they did not print any of it first. I think only like with the very big 400 euro or dollar version that came out now, which is like the Ferrari Daytona or how it's called. I'm not even sure if they printed a lot there, but I think they actually printed a lot more there. After seeing how the Lamborghini was done the year before, I'm pretty sure they they just wanted to make sure that they had proper representation by the company actually producing it. So I suppose that's why also in this set there is a lot more printed elements than we usually are used to at this price range. By the way, I have not mentioned it yet. It is $20 for the suggested retail price, like all of the Speed Champions cars. All right, now that we have finished the second part of this build, or like of the front row, I suppose, we can place it upon our connector piece here again. First, I angle it out, press down to make it more rigid, and then make sure it is the proper angle, align it, and voila. It has lights on both sides. I actually very much like the shape that it gives off now. It looks really cool, I think. Reminds me of basically a lot of these older style racing cars. A little bit of the design of the old Ford GT, or I think GT40 was what it was called back then, and also some older Porsches. All right. So the cockpit is in here as well. And now it's just for the hood and the wheels. All right. The hood consists of some plates which are being stacked once again. There is a cheese slope for reaching the angle into the backside, and then a sloped 2x2 piece into the front side. Even these two, you can clearly see the color difference in between them. I hope it's visible somehow on camera, but it's just crazy to me, like how much of a difference this actually is. Like sometimes it is a little bit better, but yeah, well, most of the time, I gotta say, it is a lot of color difference between parts. Hi, great to see. Hello to the chat. Great to see you coming back. So today we are already pretty far into it. It is this build, which is the model version of some older Ferrari racing car, the Speed Champions Series number 67906. I can show it to you a little bit. It's already got its cockpit, and it is a rather intricate build in terms of the different angles being used. All right, so let's finish the hood of it, which has these angled pieces up front still to uh, put upon, and also our last sticker, which in this case will be also held in red completely. I see you know it a little better than I do perfectly. It's an old Group 5 Fear sports car. I see the racing cars from the, I guess, the Le Mans series. I think it was where they also used these, right? All right. So this little hood piece only snaps here up front, where we had some angling done before. With this, let's see if I can show it to you. There's a hinge piece on the bottom, and it's being pressed down till the upper jumper plates can reach this sort of pole. And now we're just putting the hood piece into it. All right. And now all of these angles connect very well together, I think. It is um, a little bit off on the back side here, but other than that, I think it's looking quite cute. Thank you so much for the side information. Ha! That's interesting to read, to be honest. Um, all right, so I think I'm missing a little bit more. I guess the spoiler plates up top were not implemented yet. And I think the mounting point of these plates actually is kind of a cool concept. They have these trans clear little connector pieces which usually are being used for minifigurines where you want to, for example, hook them to something. So what this usually does is you can put this into the hand of a minifigurine, for example, and then you can put the hand onto something as a stud connector. So you can actually hook the minifigure to something. It was used, for example, in the Marvel series a lot. Whereas here it's actually being used to not distract from the color of the pieces themselves, while still being able to form this sort of connector brick here on the top side. Let's just look if it's being placed. Ah, okay. So we are placing it in this way to actually face it to the back side. All right. And then, because there is a limit to how much these can actually slide, there is a perfect way to align both of them in the same sort of angle. That's very cool. Ah, I see. Ah, that's so awesome. You have childhood memories with these sort of racing cars. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for that information too. I did not even know. I always watched races like motor um racing competitions too with my dad on television when I was younger. Good memories for that. Good memories. That's awesome. Ah, I see they use them in the Can-Am racing series. Thank you so much for these very interesting informations. To be completely honest, I should have looked it up beforehand. All right. So I'm putting on the wheels, and sadly, this time they have not included any other sort um, of wheels or like of rims which could be put upon here, because they have actually used the backside of it as basically just a regular rim, I suppose. You can't really use the other side that well because, as you maybe can see, let's see if I can focus on it properly, there are brake calipers on the standard wheels, which usually are being negated by these pieces up front for creating sort of a brake caliper look in the back. All right, so let's put them up. Well, I think I have some other wheel caps too, still lying around. It could probably also be replaced. All right, so let's put the minifigurine in, and then we are actually finished with this little set. So today I kind of wanted to build a little bit of a smaller one, just to still be able to do a stream. I was just a little bit hit with my voice today. I hope that you can't tell too much. It's a little bit cracked, so I'm struggling a bit with it. Ferrari used to look so good when they ran the gold wheels. Yeah, I very much appreciate the color of the wheels too. I appreciate that a lot. Chrome is to gold, that boring. I, the regular matte black wheels sometimes just they don't have the hue to it, right? I love that about what's it called, the WRC style rally cars from Subaru from like the early 2000s. I think was when the WRS STI was like very apparent and frequently used for actual competitions in rallying, and they always had these sort of bronze gold style wheels on them with the multi-spoke design. It just looked really cool, I think. All right, so let's put away our extra pieces, which are a lot of these little one by one brick ones again. As always, Lego includes a second piece of every one by one brick or plate part, basically being included in the set. And we can discuss this set a little bit. So I think the building technique in this one were one of the most intricate I have built in a long time, especially for the amount of parts that this includes. It's not like it's a huge build. Actually, it has less parts than for example, the Supra that we have built a couple of streams ago. Yeah, I totally grew up watching rally. I loved watching rally. I grew up watching rally during the time when Mitsubishi and Subaru were competing a lot in these sort of competitions. Um, Whereas nowadays, I sadly am not watching it that much anymore, but I still have a lot of respect for the sport. I just sadly don't have the time to follow it that much anymore. So to look it up, we had 291 parts in this set. Actually, so it's I think it's even 8 parts less than the Supra, and you can't really tell. I think that it actually looks a little bit even more like how should I say, more massive than the yellow Supra MK5, which in my opinion really comes from the way this bulkiness is done in the front. Like I love the lights up front a lot and how these angles are going into the sides of it. I just think they implemented that very nicely. And also this sort of backside build up where the fender kind of sits up here into the corner and gives it a rounded off look too, instead of just using the regular fender pieces like they did on for example this car. I think that's a rather unique way that I've not seen in these sort of builds before. Which one we can try to see? Oh yeah, totally, very gladly. So let's see if this is properly visible. I hope it is. So this is the height between them. Is this good, or should I show it from a different angle? Very gladly. All right. So it's also like you can see like the Supra is a little bit higher, but not much. It's just like the backside drag up front a little more. But I actually really prefer the look of the Ferrari here with how the build-up of the actual engine itself is like kind of a three-dimensional area with all of these side plates to them. And also, I want to mention again, um, it's like getting into a bathtub. Yeah, that's true. Like this thing, probably I could not imagine actually driving such a thing. It would probably ruin my back for my for the rest of my life. But it just looks hilarious, and it looks really awesome to be honest. I also want to mention again, I have kind of misput these stickers up here. So if anybody is wondering why this looks a little bit weird, these angles should be matching the other way around. But I've put one sticker on the wrong way, and then I kind of had to roll with the rest of it being like this too, or it would not be symmetrical. Also, which was very apparent in this set, which I mentioned a couple of times, were these one by one plates with the Ferrari logo print on them. Besides these and Was there any other print? Yes, I mean there is the cockpit window itself, which is a rather well done print, even though the colors of the printing do not match the rest of the bodywork perfectly. It is at least a nice addition, especially also with the little acrylic side window that they are kind of trying to like show off as a detail um, on one of the sides, which they implemented too. It's there on both sides actually. Sorry, I did not check. Um, Other than that, I think yeah, it's only two prints. Um, yeah, and the little Ferrari logo on the actual minifigure itself could also be mentioned. But as I said in the beginning, it's kind of hard to see sadly, so it's not really easy to show this. I sadly cannot work the zoom on my camera at the moment, but I'm trying to focus in on it a little bit. Also, what I appreciate about this build is that the minifigure actually can be placed in with the helmet being attached without having problems closing the window or like the cockpit window. Whereas with the Supra, for example, I could not manage to fit the helmet in properly without it being a problem with the height of the front window. So that is kind of something sad to see actually for this piece, whereas this one actually is done properly. Oh, thank you so much for the follow. I very much appreciate that. All right. So other than these prints, we have put on a couple of stickers. But like I mentioned, I think with these stickers, most of them were okay. I completely understand the decals being placed like this. Um, for example, the little areas where, for example, the brake calipers are supposed to be cooled by air ducts. These could have been prints, but I understand that it's a little bit expensive to actually make them into prints. Well, on the other side, they could be reused probably in all of these cars somehow, and they would still be usable probably in a lot of them. Oh, thank you so much for noticing. Yeah, I redid my nails today. I redid them in some purple color. I thought it could match the outfit that I wanted to wear today. All right. So other than that, I already mentioned the pieces and the price, which is the same as with all of the Speed Champion series, which is the $20 regular MSRP. I would not suggest that. Like I always mentioned, I would not suggest paying the suggested retail price as long as it's out in the market. This is a very broadly available set. This probably is available at basically any major retail store, especially also like Target or Walmart or stuff like that, where these things sell off with rebates of 50% upwards sometimes. It's it's questionable why Lego always puts the price for these at $20 or euros when in reality, yeah, well, this would actually be really milking the customer to a certain degree. I feel like a fair price for these always is around $10 to $12, I think, which actually is a great value for the amount of parts that you usually get. And also, what I have to mention, this set actually gives you quite a lot of good parts too. So you get some transgear elements in the front, you get a printed cockpit piece, which you can sell off probably quite well as a lot of these little Ferrari logos, which after the end after this goes into end of lifetime, it might as well go up a little on Bricklink. So maybe if you hold on to it, they could be worth a little bit too, because printed pieces always are something that has the potential to go up in value if not enough is produced of it. And other than that, the main structure of it is done with this this four stud wide connector piece, which also has probably a little bit of resale value. And the minifigures always go for at least a $1.20 to $1.50. if you are a little bit patient on Bricklink, at least if you count all of that up, you usually are already at like $5 to $6 of return value. So if you've paid like, for example, 14 for it, then you basically have to just find another $8 worth of parts in this with just selling of the very little thing. So it usually is worth it in terms of this sort of monetary value if you're interested in this. I personally, I'm not doing this sort of stuff. I'm always just mentioning the possibility of it because Lego by now has become a sort of investment for some people. So I like to talk about sets that would make a little bit of sense, whereas this one, for example, would not be making any sense for that. Besides maybe parting out, the part out value of this maybe are not actually be that bad because it has a lot of different red pieces which are um, very much being usable in a lot of builds, I think too. Um, Other than the price, I think yeah, the age tag with all of these also is the same. So nothing new in this realm. I think the 8+ category for these fits rather well, even though honestly, like any 6-year-old could also build this. It's more about the different steps of it, which could be a little bit frustrating for some younger builders maybe, because there is a lot of these hooked pieces. Like, let me just show you again. Like, for example, here where it's just an angular connector piece and then a bunch of these slopes being just put upon two studs. I mean, usually, as you saw, I had to wobble it a bit to even like break it apart, but it is a possibility that it is well, not the best playset for some. But in overall, like I sometimes like to show this. I'm not gonna like let it fall on the table now because it's just gonna be a giant boom in the microphone, and I'm not gonna want to do this to you guys. So I'm just telling you it's very rigid in terms of it being a playset, so it has to be kind of. Um, I think I would recommend this set quite a lot if you can get it for the right price. Um, I actually think I would recommend it a little more than the Supra, but that's just personal preference, to be honest. I think these sort of racing cars are just looking really awesome in many displays, and you can also build a little display set around a racing track or something like that. Whereas with the Supra, it is more of a standard street or road car, which I mean you can also probably display it very nicely too. It's just I think I like the angles and the building technique a lot more in this. So if you're just going for the most fun that you can have with these sets, I think you will have more fun with the Ferrari. Or also the lineup that this consisted of was also the Lamborghini Countach, which in my opinion is the one of the best Speed Champion Series cars that Lego has brought out over the last couple of years. This one here, where you can see there's a lot of different angles to the backside air ducts, which just make it a really great build in itself. And also it has the same sort of style for the front than the Ferrari does in terms of the lights being built up. So um, either one of these you will not do anything, you cannot really do anything wrong with them. In my opinion, those are the best available sets on the market for the Speed Champion series at the moment. I just want to mention once again, sorry for just insisting so much on this. Never pay full retail price for these sort of regular retail sets, because you can basically get nearly two of these sets for the price of one ordered by Lego if you just go to Target and wait a couple of months for it. So definitely not worth paying $20 for them. All right. So today's stream was a little bit more on the shorter side. I apologize for that. I'm just a little bit strained with my voice at this point, but I hope it was still a rather enjoyable experience for anybody who watched it. I've tried to show the details of it as much as I could. I'm gonna try to play around with the sharpness of the camera a little bit more. So maybe I can actually find a setting where zooming to little parts like these very tiny logos on the side with the Ferrari logo, for example, could be a little bit better visible. I'm just gonna show you the model into the camera once again for the finale. Also, the exhaust tips and the brake lights, as well as the indicator signs, are done quite cute, right? And as I can see, I misplaced the left spoiler piece a little bit. All right. So, um, with these words, I want to end today's stream, thanking all of you so much who were here with me or who are watching this video on YouTube as well. I hope it was enjoyable, and maybe we can see each other in the next stream or video. I would love to interact live with anybody who is interested. I'm always very much happy to chat. It's always a great experience. Today's viewers, I also very much want to thank for the great input in the chat. I always very much appreciate it so much, and it was a great time to be had with you. All right. Anyway, I hope all of you have a great, well, morning slash day slash evening slash night, depending on the time of day that it actually is at your place right now. Here it is like 5:30 in the morning, so a rather interesting time, I guess. But anyway, hope to see you in the next video. And other than that, have a great day. Goodbye.